We're in the middle of a heat wave here in North Texas Zone 8A. A lot of our plants, flowers, and vegetables have died, but a lot of them are still alive. Some of them are doing okay, some of them are doing well, but some of them are thriving. So let me share with you what is doing well in our garden. And we'll start right here with our beautiful containers. There are some flowers that I planted back in the spring. This is Angelonia and moss rose. Back there, if you come closer, I planted some mystic spire salvia that I planted a week ago in the middle of the heat, and you can see it's doing well. And later in the season, it will be blooming more and it will be beautiful. In this container, we have vincas and also African daisy. African daisies have smaller flowers now that it's so hot, but once it cools down, the flowers will be larger in size. Next to that container, we have celosia. Celosia always does well in the heat, and it even dropped some seeds, and you can see little seedlings, lots of them coming up. And as they grow, they're going to produce more beautiful flowers. And of course, zinnias do always well in any climate. They love the heat. Butterflies and pollinators love all these zinnia plants. Right here, we have sneezeweed that I never planted this year. The seeds came up from last year's plants. I've never watered them even a single time, and they are doing well, and pollinators are loving them. Next to it, we have gomphrena that I also never planted. The seeds came up on their own from last year's plants, and now we have this beautiful plant here. Right here, we have basil that we need to prune sometime at some point, but basil is blooming beautifully, and pollinators also love it. It's always covered in butterflies and bees. Behind the basil, we have a melon that came up on its own. I mean, don't you love some free plants that come up on their own? And we have, I think it might be a honeydew melon actually, but we'll find out when it grows bigger and gets mature in size. We have another one of them right here. I put the fruit on little pieces of wood because roly-polies like to assemble underneath and chew on the skin, and then eventually they get inside of the plant. That's why I'm protecting it. It seems like this way roly-polies are not as eager to chew on the plant. In this garden bed, we had some root vegetables earlier in the season, and while it's resting, I decided to plant some vincas. Vincas always love hot weather. And right next to vincas, we have this new plant that I'm growing for the first time this year. This is called Jewels of Opar. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Right now, it's after 1 p.m. It's full afternoon Texas sun, and you can see the plant is doing wonderfully. It's not wilted, it looks very fresh, and it's even blooming. You can see it's sending all these little purple flowers. They're tiny, but nevertheless they're pretty. And after they're done blooming, they produce these little seeds that I can collect later and plant in some other places. Jewel of Opar can be eaten as spinach when all spinach dies in the heat of the summer. Jewels of Opar is perfect, and it's also medicinal, and it's perennial in zones 8 through 11. Last year, we grew Seminole pumpkins for the first time, and they did amazingly well. They are resistant to squash vine borers. They love the heat, and I decided to plant them again this year. I planted the seeds a couple of weeks ago, and here they all are. They have sprouted. Some of them were eaten by some insects or maybe a squirrel, but the rest of them are loving this afternoon sun, and they're going to keep growing well. And now let's look at our sweet potatoes. We planted these sweet potatoes at the end of June, a little bit late, and nevertheless they have grown a lot. And we actually made a video on how to plant them 5 different ways. Make sure you go check out that video. Sweet potatoes can also be used as an annual ground cover. They love the heat. Just about half an hour ago, they were all droopy because the sun was shining right at them. But as soon as the sun went away, you can see that they perked up again, and they look great as a ground cover. And you'll be surprised that you might get even sweet potatoes with them. One of the vegetable plants that are doing okay in this heat are peppers. You can see that the fruit on these peppers isn't looking very good. They have some sunburn. And actually, I'm keeping them on the plant just to collect seeds from them. So when they're completely dry and look shriveled and wrinkled, I'm going to remove them from the plants and then collect seeds from them. But I'm surprised to see that in spite of this 100-degree weather every single day for a few weeks, there's some new peppers setting and the plants are actually blooming, so they're actually doing well. The next vegetable is a favorite of every gardener who lives in a warm climate, and that will be okra. Okra loves heat, it doesn't need to be watered much, and it grows like a weed. And it doesn't even need to be hand-pollinated. Who wouldn't love that? This variety is called Clemson spineless. It produces these long pods. They're very tender, we roast them in an oven, and we just love okra. And the one flower that I'm growing for the first time this year is Tithonia Mexican sunflower. I think I actually like it more than regular sunflowers, and the reason is that it keeps producing blooms over and over. With regular sunflowers, they would bloom once, they would have that one flush of blooms, and then they die and the sunflower looks ugly. And in spite of the heat, Tithonia keeps producing new blooms. And if you come closer, you can see that some of the blooms have dried out, and it's important to deadhead or remove the dead flowers because that will encourage new flowers to grow. And you need to deadhead Tithonia flowers by trimming them to the very first leaf node, because at the very first leaf node you can see the new blossom developing. So if you live in a hot climate, maybe this video will give you some ideas on what plants, flowers and vegetables you can grow in the middle of the summer. And if you have some other ideas on what plants we can grow in the heat of the summer, please let us know. We would love to try them. Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to our channel. We appreciate all your support and have a great day.